morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another edition of Think and Grow Rich Live. My name is Dr. Peter A. James, and I am so excited to be with you on another Saturday morning where we dive on into this phenomenal text, this infamous text by Napoleon Hill, just called Think and Grow Rich. And again, I mention this every week, and I'm going to say it again today. If you have never picked up a copy of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, today is your day to be able to do that. Why? Because we're going to dive on into a chapter. The chapter is persistence, where we're going to talk about why it's important to be persistent. And we have a special guest that we're going to introduce in just a little bit. But, Napoleon Hill says in chapter 8 that willpower and desire, when properly combined, make an irresistible pair. So before you can even have persistence, and I'm going to introduce Anne McNeil because she knows all about this. Before you can have this persistence thing, you have to have that willpower and that desire. And then when properly combined, this irresistible pair leads to persistence. And Ann McNeil, good morning to you. I know you know a little bit about willpower, desire, and persistence. How are you doing this morning?
Oh my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Listen, if I were any better, I like to say I would be you. Okay. And that is the spirit of persistence because you keep showing up every single Saturday, travel or not. People normally say, where in the world is Ann McNeil? I like to say, where in the world is Dr. Peter A. James, because I have to give it to you. You are the epitome of persistence, how you drive mindset toward the goals. But I'm excited to be here with our friend Nichole. We're going to introduce her in a minute. But I want to pick up where you left off because Napoleon Hill, after that first statement you made, he went on to say that men and women, okay, who accumulate not just wealth, not just fortunes, but great fortunes are known normally to be cold-blooded, sometimes ruthless. And if you are a female, you can imagine the names that we're called. But yes, we are normally misunderstood. And I like to suggest, when I do this principle and talk about it here on the podcast, I often consider persistence like insurance for success. Think about this. We have insurance for our health. We have insurance for our cars. We have insurance for our homes. We have insurance for, every conceivable thing you can think of. Even your technology now sells insurance in case something happens. But how about purchasing insurance called persistence for your success? And I think that for me reminds me when I feel like quitting to go back to my desire. And this is what we're going to talk about when we think about the individuals that Napoleon Hill gave us as examples, like Ford and some others. But I'd like to suggest that our special guest today is one of those examples of a model. Yes, that beautiful smile, Nicole. Yes, I believe that our special guest today is one of those modern day examples of what persistence looks like in real life. So turn it back over to you, Peter, and let's get this party started.
Yeah, so without further ado, allow me to introduce a little bit our distinguished guest. Nicole T. Compton is an attorney, a business architect, and a founder of Prosperous Pivots, a high impact advisory firm helping small and mid-sized businesses turn disruption into strategic growth. With nearly 20 years of legal experience and a dual advanced degree, a JD and an MBA in entrepreneurship, she's a trusted executive legal advisor known for simplifying complexity and aligning legal structure with business success. Nicole also leads Second Chair Legal, a legal tech company transforming legal ops for attorneys and SMBs through AI and automation. Certified in tax advising and mediation, she also supports clients in contract negotiation, compliance, and system design, a dynamic media personality and sought after speaker. Nichole empowers audiences with bold strategies to pivot with purpose, profit, and protection. Her mantra is change is inevitable, but prosperity is intentional. With that, I would like to introduce Nichole T. Compton. Nichole, good morning to you. How are you doing? And welcome to the show. And I think she is on
Forgive
me. There
me, I
she is.
thought I had it off. I thought I took it off mute in time and I clicked it back. Good morning. Thank you for having me. They used to say in the book it talks about persistence. I just always called it stubbornness. My stubbornness has gotten me through the years. So um I'm glad to be. I am so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I have to lead off with your mantra. I love that. Change is inevitable. Prosperity is intentional. Speak to that a little bit if you could, because I think that ties in directly with persistence a little bit. Do you mind?
No. So that is 46 years culminating together. A little of my backstory, at the age of 15, I got pregnant. And the story behind that involved a whole lot of messiness. I hate saying the word, but technically rape. I grew up in a very strict Christian evangelical family, so you don't get pregnant out of wedlock, let alone at 15. And it took persistence and what I call my stubbornness to get me through that, to make me it actually gave me the drive to keep pushing and to keep doing well. I had like a 3.8 something GPA when I got pregnant. I was the head of the chess team and on all these academic teams where everybody loved me and everything was great. And then a baby changed it all. Then all of a sudden, no one expected me to graduate from high school. My mom and dad, I knew I had let them down. Everybody pretty much gave up, but it was that persistence that had grown that got me there. What I realized over the years, my mantra came later. My original mantra is every moment of every second of every day, you can change, you can do something different. In the last year, like that, change is inevitable. Every day, something is going to happen. It could be good or bad, but it's what you do with it that matters. And so, to be prosperous in life, to be prosperous in business, you have to be intentional and strategic about that. And one of the strategies is to be persistent. That's why I was excited that I got chosen to be on this particular episode.
And yeah, it definitely sounds like I would love to return back a little bit to your journey because it's going to be inspiring to some of our audience who are listening. And I have to admit, I love that mantra. I've read it even a few times before we even got on the show because truly, as a quick example, so many of my clients today are trying to figure out how to navigate change that's going on around them, that's being thrust upon them. But then I also love how you follow it up with listen, if you are trying to prosper, you have to be intentional about it. You have to lean in to that. And a lot of us think it just happens by being there, but that's just the start. That's just the start. Let me ensure that I acknowledge some folks who are on our YouTube today. I see Carla, I see Tobo Adine, Doretha, Dr. Victoria Long Coleman, Shannon Charlton, Diane King Flowers, a lot of our normal guests, but even some new ones for sure. Welcome to the show. Please like and subscribe to the show beginning today. Nichole, before I hand it back over to Anne really quickly, tell us a little bit more about that backstory, maybe a little bit where you're from and then how you were able to, especially as a young lady, overcome, persist through monumental challenges that even as you described, when people start to write you off, it's kind of hard for a young person to navigate that. Talk a little bit about that if you could, please.
Well, I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky.
Mhm.
I'm the oldest of 8 children. I don't know if no, I probably am. I am that kid who never cried when they got a spanking. I'm that stubborn. My mom, my mom said my dad would pat on my butt and I would be like, not gonna cry no matter what. And she, please just cry. He's gonna kill you if you don't. You gotta cry. I never have. I think so. Part of my stubbornness, my persistence, probably is innate. But then the other part is knowing that I wanted better for myself. Both of my parents were young when they had us. They came from broken homes um, and wanted to have a large family. And so, being one of eight, you kind of get lost in the mix and have to find your way. When I got um, when I was younger and I got pregnant, I think I wanted at least what my parents had. They were young homeowners. You know, we went to church all the time. We had our lights turned off. I just didn't realize it. I thought we were camping. I wanted that good life, even as a youngster. And so once I had my son, I was determined that I still wanted to go to college. Not just they sent me to a school for teenage parents. In that school, the mission, the aim was just to get the girls a GED or get them out of school. Um, I went back to my counselor at the teenage parent program and asked her, "Look, I want to go to college, and this baby shouldn't be what stops me. I need to go to college. You know, she ended up getting me back into regular school, but allowing me to keep my son in the daycare at that school. I had to do double the work, but I could do it, and I did. So I graduated, um, top of my class there. I think I was like number 13 or something. The numbers matter because the sisters that came behind me were all valedictorians consecutively, like four in a row. So my parents really, really pushed education. I went away, took my son with me, went away to Berea College. Everybody asked, well, what are you going to do? You know, what are you going to do with your kid when you go to college? He's mine. My parents made that very clear. We planned ours. This was yours. My son is like 3 years older than my baby sister. That's how close it was. I took him. We went to college, got out of when we graduated. Um, when I graduated, we ended up coming back to Louisville, Kentucky, and that's when I got my MBA and my law degree the next year. So it's a lot of change and a lot of issues and things to overcome within that, but that's the gist of it.
Definitely sounds like it's not a straight line. And McNeil, I'm gonna bring you in because Nichole already sounds like she's got that willpower and that desire inside of her. And I want you to ask her some questions, but before you do, I would love for you to introduce this video that we look at on a regular basis that kind of gives us an overview of these 13 principles.
Well, thankfully, Nichole is a little familiar with these principles, and so are many of our regular guests that listen. But I would tell you that I never tire. I never tire, or get tired, if you will, of listening to the video, but also just thinking about in my own life how these 13 principles connect to each other. And every single thing that happens for me, I go back to what is it that I desire. And listening to your story, Nichole, and we're going to get into it a little bit more, it was that burning desire, I'm not going to cry. That burning desire, I will succeed. That burning desire that pulled you through. And so when you look at all of the other principles that are connected to that, think about what is it that you want or desire or that passion as you listen to this video. So listen up. Thank you.
Number one is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step two is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step three is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
All right. All right. And we are back. And Nichole, I always like to ask every guest, what was your first introduction to this book, Think and Grow Rich by
My
Napoleon Hill?
my original introduction to Think and Grow Rich was probably about 15 years ago. My dad is, this is nothing compared to my library in the other room. My dad would always give us books, and he would, for your birthday, you're gonna get a book. You graduated, you did something great, you're gonna get another book, or maybe 5. So I've always been an avid reader, and so I remember him giving me a copy. And to be honest, I put it on the shelf and I read a little bit and I was like, yeah, kind of not my thing, got too much going on. Here recently, going through the mastermind for Think and Grow Rich with Black NSA, was when I was reintroduced to the book. Since then, I read it through with the Mastermind, and then I've gone back because there's been pieces of it. I'm like, okay, I remember we talked about this. I just want a refresher. And so I haven't gotten to be like you, Anne, to where I read it every year, but I definitely now I have two copies and I have it on Audible on my audiobook, and there's a YouTube channel that you can listen to it as well. So I listen to a lot of books now, even while I'm working. So just recently I was reintroduced. I think I'm inspired by the fact that when I heard you say the first time that you go through it at least once a year, that you kind of keep it's earmarked, it's great. I think about it like a Bible. I know they say if your Bible's marked up and you got a whole bunch of earmarks on it, you might be the one that's going to heaven. Like you know your stuff. For me, it was a 4-hour work week was kind of like Think and Grow Rich. There are so many nuggets in here that you can go back to it, that you can pull out stories and have aha moments that you really did not see the first time.
I'd like to suggest or the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth
Yeah.
because
Yes.
because we change, and as we grow, it's just like you mentioned, the Bible and earmarking certain parts. The words in that book, the book, is not changed. But as we grow and we change, the words come to life. And that's what I really want to encourage all of our listeners. It's not the only book, but whatever you are reading, allow it to read you. And I think that of the many books that you've read, and you mentioned For Our Work Week, which is another really good book, um, and one of the ones actually for me early on, that I read that helped me to understand how to better manage my time, if you will, in terms of VAs and the opportunity to outsource a lot of things, along with The World is Flat. But I want to come back to this question. A lot of our listeners uh, are going through, they're going through. Can you share with us a story of your persistence? And I know you did a phenomenal job in opening up with how you were persistent in that journey. But now things are a little different. Can you share with us an example, either personal or business, whichever you're more comfortable sharing, of how persistence is showing up for you now?
Oh, I think of things a lot of times in analogies. Um, and so I have two analogies right now that are really real for me. One is the seed and the harvest. With persistence, with persistence in my life, there are things that I have seen that I've over the years I've planted the seeds. I've done all the things. It didn't look like, when you plant a plant, you put a seed in a pot. You see the dirt for a long time. And I know earlier Dr. James was talking about when we first came on, was talking about, success and what people see. No one sees underneath that the roots have to start growing, that it has to be able to get enough that it can push through the dirt. Once it does, however, everything then you see the fruit that comes from you planting the seed. Um, for me, the second one is probably one that I've been talking about both of them this last week or two. The second one is probably more real. For men, you may not get it. For a woman, when you have a baby, my circumstances were a little bit different where I wasn't, woo, we're having a baby. But the physiological part is still the same. So when you get pregnant and you're trying to think through, ooh, is it a boy? Is it a girl? You get your first test, oh, I'm pregnant. I gotta tell everybody, I want to plan out the nursery. What's it gonna look like? Is it gonna like him? Is it gonna like me? What's the name? And it's all great when it's easy. When you get to the end of the pregnancy, though, you get that last little bit where if you don't get this out of me, I'm gonna walk 10 miles and I'm gonna take all the castor oil I can. This one's coming out now. I can't do it anymore. And then whew, it's out. It's pain, it's intense, and then it's there. I'm in that season of my life where I've planted all the seeds. And just like my mantra, where everything is coming together, where it's finally there. Um, Not completely on point, but definitely on point. I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and I hope is the encouragement to someone where I had to be really transparent with my client. He, you know, he had lost his job. He's thinking, I don't know how I'm going to pay you. I don't know how this is going to happen, when that's going to happen. And my job is to be his tax advisor. So I'm supposed to help him get your finances straight and save money and not lose money. And he just thought, oh my God, life is over. I don't know. I've never been let go. I don't know what to do. I have kids, my wife, everybody's looking at me. And I told him, stop. You've planted all the seeds up to now. You have 47 or 48 years of experience. You know what you're doing. You know you're good at it. This may be God opening your hands to receive something else. How you play it, because the other part of my mantra is I bring the strategy. You got to be intentional, but you also have to have that strategy. So you can be persistent and keep moving forward in the wrong things, but when you stop, you're intentional about your actions and you put the strategy behind it. That's when you get the success. And so I had to tell them, my story is really really rocky, and so my first husband had an affair, had two kids with the mistress. I'm on the campaign trail running for judge. It was messy. And after I get off the campaign trail, like I had all the debt. I had a son who was in and out of the hospital. I was diagnosed with lupus my first year of law school. Like my health went down. I had shingles at 29. I was 29 when this happened. I had shingles. I had a office where I'm paying payroll. I got people that I have to worry about, and everything went crazy. And so I had to file bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is a potty word for a lot of people, especially if you're churchianity. Like nobody, oh no, I don't ever do that. So I had to tell him, I was like, you are in the perfect position. If you wanted to file bankruptcy right now, knowing that you've done all the things, you're gonna get another job. This is a hard part, but it just may be for you to pivot. And if you can take this pivot, if you can take this moment, if you can use this tool, this written into law called bankruptcy, you will have a weight lifted off and be in a much better position than if they had never fired you. Like, dude, it's your perspective also. And so for those who are experiencing, I've had a lot of clients that this year that, oh, I thought I was, I'm coming into the year making this kind of money, or, my health is good, my life is good. You never know when any of those things are going to change. But what you do with it when it happens, to be able to not stay in the emotions, woe is me, you gotta get that part. And again, going back to what Dr. James said, I didn't tie it in, so I will now. Most people see the success. They see the people that they admire. For me, Ann is one of those. You see the people that you admire, but you don't see the hard work, the tenacity. You don't see underneath the roots growing. You don't see the bottom of the iceberg that is huge. You see that success when they became the overnight success. Well, no, it was overnight and overnight and overnight and over weeks and over years, and that's where they get there. So you gotta stay with it.
Good stuff there, Nichole. And that's a lot.
Powerful, 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 powerful. Thank you, Nichole.
You
Peter.
know, Nichole, while you were talking, and actually, I want to first of all acknowledge in our on our webinar we have Angela Sturgis, Jason Murray, Bettina Collier. Thank you all for joining us today. All of you on YouTube listening to Nichole's story. Actually, we just have Reginald Cunningham join us on our webinar as well. Thank you so much. Those of you on YouTube, please don't hesitate to drop in some questions for Nichole. Well, actually, while you were talking, Nichole, and while I was listening to your story, and you are so right. I love that planting seeds analogy, and we never really know what people went through, what's going on underneath the roots, because no one talks about that, and the media doesn't like to portray that. No one, it doesn't sell stories. But a question I have for you, Nichole, is um, it seems like at various times, and this is all of us to a certain extent, we've been at the bottom and we are looking up and we have our goals and we have our dreams. And it seems like, and I'm just talking from what it sounds like from you, it sounds like you've always had that willpower and the desire, which led to persistence in you. Some of us, when we're at that bottom, even like your client that you described, we doubt ourselves that we can get out of that. How did you develop that in order for it to manifest as you are today?
Probably the master class of life.
Right.
Well, look, I have been stubborn. I've always said, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna not only do that, but I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do double what you doubted that I could do in the first place. So don't ever doubt me on anything or try. And I think my husband uses it to his advantage. Oh, you can't do that. Like, watch me. um, no, but it's not that I haven't had my low moments. It's not that I haven't procrastinated on things or had a lack of confidence where I felt like, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. You know, why the roots are growing and nothing is coming out of that dirt, out of that soil when you planted the seed. You're like, well, maybe I mistook it. Maybe I heard the wrong thing and that really wasn't what it was. Part of it is going back to, for me, being a believer is going back to what the word of God says about me. But then the other part is having good counsel around me. And then also my books, because I've there's an answer somewhere. Somebody else, there's nothing new under the sun. Somebody else has gone through what I've gone through. So finding somebody's story that's similar to mine or that is worse than mine, or that someone that can inspire me to get up and to keep moving and to keep pushing. But definitely having good counsel and having those around you. And sometimes it's silence. Sometimes
Mm,
that just hit me. Sometimes it's silence. It's that silence when you can't tell everybody what your vision is. You can't tell everybody what you're doing. Not only having good counsel, but sometimes you can't even tell your good counsel what you're doing. You let them, speak life, but sometimes your vision and what you're doing, and this is me, now I'm preaching to myself this morning. Sometimes you can't share with everybody because they
mm,
can't see that they can do it. So then
mm,
there's no way that you can do it. No one saw that, oh, you can go to college and take this kid with you. Oh, I had somebody tell me, well, you weren't expected to graduate from high school, and then you went and graduated from college. You should, that's good enough, right? And I'm like, no, I want advanced degrees. I want to go here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And so when I did my JD and my MBA, I did them at the same time, and people were like, nobody does, like, everybody else, all the regular people walked across the stage with one degree. I walked across and I had two schools, there to hand me that. But if I had a listen to what other people thought
mm.
that I couldn't do or told me I couldn't do and put their seed of negativity, that would have killed my faith that I could do it. So can't tell everybody your dreams. I can't
I,
tell
I
them.
love I,
Let them
I
watch
love
it
that.
when you're at the top, and then you can go back and tell them what it was.
I love that, Nichole, because what I heard from you there is that we sometimes need to recognize the capabilities of others and realize that, yeah, I can't share everything with them because maybe they're a negative Nelly,
Yeah,
and maybe they're not going to be able to give me a positive spin on this. I'm of the adage, I'm like you there, Nichole. I think that everything is figure outable.
yeah,
Everything is overcomable. right? We just have to take a step back, even sit in that silence for a little bit, read those books, talk to the right people in order to identify what is the next move that we need to make under these challenging circumstances.
Yeah, let me add two things on that. One,
Please, please.
everything is figure outable. That's my original mantra that I've been telling since I was 15. My son, don't say it another time, mom. And then one time he told me, "Are you even listening to yourself?" But every moment of every second of every day, you can change. You can do a 180. You can completely turn around and do something different. And so you have to know that it can be different tomorrow. I can choose this and be like, oh, this is not working and go that way. The other thing is when you had asked me, the one thing I did forget, and I don't know why I forgot, is the things that I have accomplished, I've made a vision board. It doesn't always have to be you cut out of a magazine and put it up, but you got to see it. And you got to see it every day, and you got to see it over and over. I have a picture of my vision board. I will put it on my screen on my phone. So when I unlock my phone, there it is. That's what I'm shooting for. And I write meticulously what that vision is, what my goal is, how it all plays out. I write it and I see it. So that's my other way to kind of get over things. When you get lost, having that visual, that sign that's right there. This is what we're doing. Don't stop.
Yeah, thank you so much. We got the comments are blowing up there, Nichole. So I'm gonna read a few of them from you. Yeah, Sharice says, "Hey, that's my sister there." Sharice Taylor says, "Hey, go Nichole." Tobo says, "Very true. You cannot tell everyone your goals. There are always doubters who will point out all the obstacles." Dr. Victoria Long Coleman says, "Nichole, you have the master class of life. So far, it seems to be a book on how to be persistent." Um, and then and Dr. Victoria also follows up with this question for you there, Nichole, and she says, "What question about persistence do you still wrestle with today?" And I'm gonna have you think about that. What about persistence do you still wrestle with today? But I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Ann McNeil, our third angel, Galen Bingham, who is creeping on us today, Ann McNeil, and he's got some questions in the chat. I don't know about that. We have to challenge him on that as well, though. But I'm gonna come back to you there, Nichole, and then I'm gonna give it to you. And Nichole, what do you wrestle with around persistence today? Because we're human beings and we see challenges in front of us, and that can sometimes even plant the seeds of doubt in our minds. So, what does that look like for you today? And that's definitely going to benefit our audience in some form or fashion.
The thing I struggle with persistence is certainty.
Mm.
I had my client who referred me as a lawyer to someone else, and he said she looks like a pussycat. She looks like when she goes in, she's just going to be quiet and timid until she opens her mouth. And once she chomps down, she's a pit bull and she's not letting go. So you better be ready for the fight. But that's not where it should always be. Sometimes with persistence, you also have to know when to pivot. And knowing when to pivot doesn't necessarily mean you lost. It doesn't mean you gave up, but you got to be certain that what you're doing is going to get you to where you're going, and that's where you should be going. There's a lot of times that you can be persistent in all the wrong things. You could be doing all the things, and all the things are not going to get you to where you're supposed to go, where you want to go. And so for me, it's that certainty, knowing that the thing that I am being persistent in how I'm going about getting to where I'm trying to go is correct. You got to know when it's time to pivot. Don't go down with the ship. Don't go down with the ship when, and it's like, no, the life raft is over here. Jump ship. Come on. No, we're going this way because we finished that journey. You got to know when to pivot and be certain about that.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And so many people go down with the ship, and they're not making those better decisions to get off. So you're, the floor is yours, Ann McNeil.
Listen, I already have 2 pages of notes. And I would be remiss because I know what it feels like to be on the other side of this screen when you're in the audience and you have a question and you're like, okay, well, I have a question. Can I raise my hand? Can she get to my question? So Galen Bingham, you know what that feels like because when you're on this side of the camera, there are people on that side of the camera like you are right now saying, wait, I have a question. Now, so Nichole, Galen's question, and I put it in the chat here
Yeah.
with us. He said, how did you learn persistence? And you can repeat some things that you've shared. Actually, Galen, she did share that in the very beginning. So we got to go back.
Okay.
Galen, because I want to make sure we get that question. So next time when I'm on the other side of this camera and I have a question, I want to make sure my question is asked. So Galen wants to know, how did you learn persistence?
You know what? Persistence can be learned. Persistence can be learned. But it takes, it's that one step at a time. It's that don't look for the top of the hill or the mountain that you're climbing. Look for the step that's in front of you. Persistence. So taking that step after a while, it's almost like you're flexing a muscle. You don't know, everybody has it, not everybody uses it, but once you start using it and you start doing it, it becomes character. It starts to transform you, because what you realize is that once you get that little bit of traction, it's not as hard as what you think it is. So part of it, I think for me, part of it is innate, because I said at the beginning, I'm stubborn. You cannot tell me that not to do something, because well, why can't I? But you can learn it, and the way that you learn it is truly one step at a time. One step at a time. Did I do today? I said I was gonna do this, and I'm gonna do it. If it rains, I'm still gonna walk. If it's cold, I'm still going walking. If it's sunny outside and it's too hot, I'm still gonna walk. And maybe this today I walk 10 minutes, and tomorrow I'm walking 3 miles, and the next day I can only do 15 minutes. But it's that what's that next step in front of me, and you just keep one after another, and then it becomes part of your character. And I go back to also having um good people around you. And if you are a believer, it's that extra faith to know that I can do this. That reminding yourself that I can do all things. I can do this. Uh-oh,
Damn, Neil,
you're
she is
muted.
on
No,
mute.
not all the good words. Not all the good words.
All right, we have another question in the chat on YouTube. Jasmine Brown wants to know, how do you know you're going the right way of the roots and the way of the roots are still growing, but no flowers? It's her question.
Yeah. That is where the faith comes in, Jasmine. The faith comes in knowing, if I plant a seed, if it's a good seed and I plant it and I water it and the dirt is right, it's coming. But that's where the faith comes in. You're not going to plant the seed today and see tomorrow. If you dig it up, you can go outside every day, dig it up, look, oh yeah, still there. If you do, you're going to stunt the growth. Every time you replant it, now you've started over. Don't start over. You got to just have the faith that I know if let's say you're baking a cake, if you put the flour and you put the egg and you put all the ingredients, you stir it up, you put it in there, you got to make sure that you don't burn it, but you're not going taking it out, taking the ingredients out, put them back together, put it back in. You don't, because that's taking you backwards. You just have to know that you know that you know. And here's the thing, in every last one of us, there is that small still voice. There's that small still voice where if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not. So you got to also start there. So have faith that the roots are growing. But if in your gut, if you knew, well, that seed was crushed when I put it in there, it might not, it might not grow, or it might take longer. But you got to have the faith to know that it's still doing what it's supposed to do when you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I have to add to that as well. It's easy sometimes to plant a seed and just sit there and watch it and hope that, gosh, it's
They say
taking
a
forever
watch
here.
pot never a watch pot never boils. It
And
takes
never,
the same
oh,
as another one, but it seems like a watch pot never boils.
here's how I see it in action sometimes, especially my daughter right now just graduated with her master's degree not too long ago. And now she's looking for a job. Yeah, it's fabulous. Went to her ceremony and everything like that. And so now she's looking for a job. And I'm advising her, hey, just keep putting those applications out, planting those seeds, meeting people. And then, but sometimes when we're in that boat and we're looking for a job, we're putting the application in and we're hoping that that one right there just comes. And if we don't hear back a few days later, oh, well, they're not calling me back. Why are they reaching back out? I wonder if they saw it. We and I think what happens to your credit there, Nichole, is that we have to stay busy doing all the other things to get to that next level
Yes.
instead of just looking, glazing at that one item, which is easy to do. So, what has that looked like in your life, in your career there, Nichole, where you've had to stay busy, or maybe even you caught yourself glaring at that seed
Okay, I'm always transparent, and I always go back to things that I've had to
to
deal
a
with.
fault, right?
So yeah, so I only had the one son, but then for the last 10 years, I have been raising his son. I'm taking the leap to try to transition grandbaby back to his dad, and so for me, that is hard. And I'm like, it's gonna be okay. It's not gonna look like what I want it to look like. He's not gonna make him brush his teeth before bed every night. Like, you gotta let it go, Nikki. And so I do.
Mm.
I keep myself busy with other things. So when you said that, I was like, oh God, he is walking down my street. Uh, but that's the truth. Well, and here's the other truth, though. Here's the other truth, and tell your daughter this: what is for her will be for her. You give them your best on your resume and your cover letter. You do all the things that you're supposed to do, customizing the resume for them, making sure your LinkedIn is okay. But just like I had to tell my client yesterday when he talked about losing his job, he was miserable at that job. So what you think you want may not be what you want. So what's for you will come when it's for you, and you have to rest and know that it's coming. You have to rest and know that it's on the way. And I'm trying not to get preachy, but a lot of the things that I think through, I think about parables and scriptures. And even my mom hated that I got a tattoo on my hand, but my tattoo talks about, if God cares about the lilies of the field, how much more important are you? So you got to rest and know that it's gonna work out. It's gonna happen in due season. It's though that perfect job is gonna call when she doesn't expect it, and she's got to be okay with that. And in the meantime, don't just sit and watch that one resume, but start thinking of, when I get this job, what are the skills that I'm going to need? How can I prepare now for what I know that I want? Keep putting out the feelers, but keep working on your end on what you need to be able to receive it. Because that's the other thing too. You can't pray for a Mercedes and you don't have your driver's license. You got to get your garage ready. You got to make sure that that you can drive it and you can handle it. You can afford the insurance. You can't just want it and not do the work on the back end. So it's not just even busy work while you're waiting. It's prepping for you to be able to receive and walk in what you desire or what you're working towards in the meantime.
Yeah, thank you
Okay.
so much for that, Nichole. It's important. It's easy for us to get caught staring, and it's important for us to take that step back and keep doing all the things that we need to do to keep the ship moving forward as well. And Neil.
Yes, I'm tempted on the seed
Mhm.
and reminded of the parable of the seed falling on stony ground and the preparation we must have, and your daughter in particular, to just know that all things do work together for good, and that in time, like Nichole is saying, what is for her is for her. And so whatever you can do to help strengthen her faith, if you will, And so, with that thought in mind, we are going to transition to talking about this event we're hosting in January. And I have a quick little story. Nichole, you may remember John Register. We're just coming back from the National Speakers Association conference called Influence 25 in Scottsdale, Arizona this week. And I saw John at breakfast and he was introducing me to someone. And he said to the person, he said, "Oh, this is Ann McNeil, and she has a phenomenal Think and Grow Rich family retreat." I said, "Family retreat?" He said, "Yes." And he started explaining to the person about the family retreat that we host. And I thought about it. I said, you know what? And this is for us, Peter, Galen, and all of us. It's not so much about what we think people think. I mean, what we think about what we do, but how do people perceive what we do? So I'm going to share this uh, website, and you can go there for the international masterminders.com, and that's masterminders with an S. Annually, we host an annual meeting for your life that now John Register is helping me revisit what we call it, and he called it a family retreat. And it is held on in 2026. It will be held on Friday, January 9th, 2026, and Saturday, January 10th, 2026, at the Embassy Suites in Boca Raton. And we, with our families, bring our life in writing. And I'm very excited. I didn't bring it today, unfortunately, but my granddaughter just published her second book, and it is called Her Autobiography at 8 years old. She wrote an autobiography on the alphabets, the alphabetical autobiography, where she took each letter and she told a story about her life. Now, it was not my idea, but she set a goal at the annual meeting that she wanted to publish her second book this year. And that's a part of the family, right? And so when you think about what is it that you're persisting toward, what is that goal or that desire that you know on an annual basis, someone is going to call you out or hold you accountable for the achievement of that. So we really want to encourage all of you to register, join us for our for our family retreat, if you will, based upon the principles of Think and Grow Rich. We also call it our Think and Grow Rich annual accountability meeting for our lives. And so just want to share that because I just know that for many of us, we don't have a place for our entire family to come to be held accountable. And so we've created that place and want to just continue to encourage people to join us there. All right, that is it for me. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You like this new image I just put up here for you there,
Yes,
Emily?
I appreciate that. Yes, thank you.
Good
Yes,
stuff. Hey,
yes,
we're getting close to time there, Ann McNeil and Nichole. We have to get ready to land the plane, so we have to ask all of our guests to put their seats in an upright position and stow your tray tables, of course, and make sure your seat belts are fastened because now we're getting ready to reflect on a little bit of this journey that Nichole has taken us on, this persistence journey, and maybe even identify some of those aha moments there and that resonated the most with us so that we can take it away and apply it on our Saturday and even moving forward. So, Ann, I'm going to start with you. If
absolutely.
what resonated with you the most from this conversation today, and how do we stay in touch with Ann McNeil?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, first, Nichole, how you opened with your story about getting pregnant, and then you slid in the fact that it was rape, but you didn't go down that lane of, oh, woe is me. Coming from a Christian family, that was not an option to do anything but embrace it, right? So your persistence for me showed up early in this conversation where you shared with us, it doesn't matter what happens to you. Are you willing to persist toward the higher calling of who you've called to be? And that's what came up and out of me as you were sharing, because it was the God in you that said, this is a blessing in disguise. Now find the good in it. And as you open up with that, but also being intentional, you shared, you know, be intentional, but also bring the strategy with the intentionality, because you can be persistent in the wrong direction on the wrong thing if you don't have the right strategy toward that desire. And then the story you shared about the client, I think we can all relate to that. And I know somebody is going to be blessed, because right about now, many people are going through whether or not they're going to even have a job tomorrow. But you're giving hope on how to use the persistence in what they can do if it happens to you, or you don't wait. Become an entrepreneur in that job, and don't wait for someone to say to you it's over. Use the tools. Um, what do you do with it when it happens? And these are the principle of persistence. And I can go on and on, but those were just some that just resonated with me and stays with me to really encourage me to continue to persist until I succeed with a spirit of excellence. So thank you. Oh, how you can connect with me? Anybody want to connect with me? Text the number 59925 and put in the chat the name Ann. That's ANN. My desire is to have 50 individuals, families, mastermind groups join us at our annual meeting in January. We just talked about on January 9th and 10th in Boca Raton, because I do believe that masterminding is a phenomenal process for accountability for families and individuals. 59925, and in the chat, put the word "and." Text the number 59925. Thank you.
And I'm going to ask you to maybe put some of those information in the YouTube chat as well as definitely the annual accountability meeting link if you have that, but then also how people can stay in touch with you. Nichole, we're going to pass the baton back over to you. This has been a phenomenal conversation and very insightful, uh, just on so many different levels. I can go in 100 different ways. But more importantly, how does our audience stay in touch with you? And maybe even before that, what do you have brewing that you want the audience to know about?
A lot. Well, I want to clear up one thing. I try not to say rape. Legally and technically, that's what it was. But it wasn't. I wasn't forced down at gunpoint and all of that. I don't want to take away from rape victims. It has taken me 46 years to be able to say that legally and technically that was what happened. I got pregnant against my will. So I do want to clear that up, because I do have family members and people that I know that were seriously, like, brutally raped. So I want to clear that up. But even what I went through was traumatic for a 15-year-old. So I'm constantly moving. This is actually a book I wrote with my son, and all of these are on Amazon. This is a book that I wanted young Black women and girls to know our heritage. And so this is just stories of Black women who changed history, but nobody ever gave them their acknowledgement. So that's Real Queens Like Me. I also have my first book, which is In Quietness and Confidence. Based on the scripture, In Quietness and Confidence, I will retain my strength. But it's life lessons, small revelations, and those aha moments, those whispers from God, and it has the journal to go with it. So I'm always doing something. The latest project, however, is kickstart18.org or .com. Either one, you'll find the same thing. It's back to school time. And I have always tried to make ways for law to be accessible and affordable for families. And so I created the Kickstart 18 Empowered Parents Toolkit. When your kid turns 18 and they're about to go to college, or they're going into the real world or trade school or whatever, if you do not have certain documentation, you would not be able to help your child. And I know this kind of hit home for my sister when my nephew had a brain injury. Like, there were things that she couldn't easily get done without having paperwork, that if she had a power of attorney, if she had some of these other documents, would have made a difference. And so as your kid goes off to college, it doesn't matter if you write that tuition check or not. They can't tell you anything about, did your kid actually even show up for school? Are they still enrolled? Are they coming? Are they sick? None of that. So I created this. This will save thousands of dollars in legal fees, but give a priceless amount of peace of mind for parents. So kickstart18.com or .org, and you can get yours today. It's easy. I try to make it super simple. I put examples, samples, overviews, all of that so that you can go through. And then I like bonuses. So I put a lot of support materials and bonuses in there. So that's just one of my love projects. But everything that I do culminates around prosperous pivots. I want people to have prosperity in their health, their life, their relationships, all of that. And so I work, whether I'm working with individuals, whether I'm working with corporations, or law firms and lawyers, that is my goal, is to help them figure out how to have that strategy and that plan from when change happens. So again, change is inevitable. Prosperity is intentional. You got to have that strategy to go with it, and that's what I help individuals and companies do. So you can find me there at prosperouspivots.com, and it has links to all the other things that I'm doing on that one site.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Nichole. Nichole, this has been a phenomenal show. Thank you so much for being a. We have to ask you, can you come? We're gonna put you on the spot in front of the audience. We want you to come back.
Of
We
course.
want you to come.
Of course, this was great, and I am excited. So my body resides in Louisville, Kentucky. My soul, my spirit, and my happy place is in South Florida. So I know the exact hotel because I've worked down the street, and I lived in Boynton Beach, so right up the road. Like I've already put it. That's another reason for me to go back home. So I hopefully I'll be there in January as
Oh,
well.
bring the family, Nichole. Bring the family. I'll connect with you offline, but definitely consider
Okay.
bringing the family to the family retreat, according to John Register.
I'm all for it. No,
Awesome.
thank you for having me, Dr. James, and this was great. And it's so much. If you haven't read Think and Grow Rich, I don't plug stuff, but I do. This one, again, is one of those ones you pick up, you read it, and you can just keep getting nuggets out of it. So there's so much more even on this one that we could have hit on that we didn't get to. So I'll be back.
All right. Thank you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So we're about to wrap up today. I'm having some technical difficulties over here, but hey, this has been a phenomenal show. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach helping you to shift your mindset. This has been another phenomenal edition of Think and Grow Rich Live. Same time, folks, every week, same channel. Come back. You know what I love today about the about this conversation the most, what resonated with me, and I've said this so many times to clients and colleagues alike. I consider myself a seed planter because I have a lot of goals and things that I would like to accomplish. And so I know I have to plant seeds, but I got to stay busy and I can't just sit there and watch the seeds. I got to be able to keep doing other stuff that's going to support the mission, support the vision, support the values as they continue to move forward. So thank you all for this today. And definitely continue to think and grow rich. And we'll see you next week, same time, same channel as well. Take care.